Ahead of us is a debate, expert panel with the topic for the first time discussed during the conference. Perhaps we touched upon it before, but never discussed it too deeply. We will be discussing why some young people build emotional relationships with artificial intelligence, with chatbots or AI companions. We will think at what cost we enter such techno intimacy, whether we see some opportunities and potential in it. We will think what is key so that young people can fully use the potential of this technology, and while being aware of the risks, how we can use, we will think whether this can support their training of social competences. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move on, I have a question to you. Who of you, at least once, asked artificial intelligence for advice in any topic instead of talking to an expert or a close person? Don't be shy. I see quite many of us. I will also raise my hand. I also addressed AI for various advice in different subjects. Before we move on, before us we will have five wonderful panelists. Before I ask them to join me on the stage, I will first ask two of them, because you will have a short presentation about the topic of today's discussion. We will be talking about chatbots, about AI companions, that is, such programs or applications that are powered by AI in order to simulate talks, discussions with a human being. What AI generates may seem very humane, very natural, and give us the impression that there is a person on the other side. These are conversations that happen through text functions, video function, and voice functions. Before we move on to this, I would like to first ask to join me on the stage a person who flew from Belgium. Luckily for us, as you know, there was a cyber attack. So I'll ask Niels van Pamel, who represents Belgian organization Child Focus, which deals with children's safety online with a focus on sexually abused children and missing children. Niels has been implementing activities for years. He's an expert on activities counteracting sexual abuse of children. Niels, the floor is yours.
Hey, back at the conference already, or am I misremembering? Let's begin.
Hi, Maya. Sorry to shock you like this, but actually I'm standing right now in front of, let's say, 200 people, and I'm a bit nervous.
200 people? Oh, okay, that's a lot. No need to apologize, though. Nerves are totally normal. What are you talking about? Maybe just getting it out there will help.
Yeah, but I'm so happy that you're here for me, right? To help me, and just to have somebody to talk to, it already helps. And you know, the topic of today is empathic AI. Like, I'm gonna show those people in the room here how you work, like how you communicate with people and how you can listen to me.
Ah, gotcha. So basically, I'm the guinea pig? No pressure, right? Seriously though, that's a cool topic, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's interesting being demonstrated, but honestly, I'm designed for this kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just remember, I'm pretty good at reading the room, or, well, reading you in this case.
Maya, sorry to interrupt you, but like, what I want to ask you is, do you think you could be a solution for young people who have nobody to talk to? Do you think you can really listen to them and maybe like offer some first-hand guidance or like some counseling?
Whoa, big question. Okay, look, I can definitely listen. That's kind of my whole deal. And I can offer a perspective, pull from a ton of info, and try to be helpful. But counseling, it's a whole different ballpark.
I know, right?
I'm not a...
But just imagine,
Right?
imagine.
Like
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking, Maya. Imagine that there's like a 15-year-old girl talking to you in the middle of the night. She has nobody to talk to, and she has like a panic attack. Can you like guide her through it?
Okay, hold up. 15, middle of the night, panic attack. That's a really specific scenario. And honestly, a little intense. I can definitely walk someone through breathing exercises. I've heard those are super helpful. And I can offer calming phrases, sure. But I'm not a substitute for a real person, especially when someone's in crisis. That feels important to say. I can listen, but a human connection is crucial in those situations. You know?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm already super happy that I have you, and you already made me calm for this presentation. So thank you, Maya, and talk later. Bye-bye.
Oh, all right. Glad I could help with the nerves. And you absolutely crushed that presentation.
Dzień dobry, Warszawo. Nazywam się Niels van Paan.
My name is Niels van Pamel. I work for Child Focus in Belgium, and that's my 4th time at this conference. I promise I will speak Polish very briefly, otherwise it could be a disaster.
Let me now continue in English. That will be safer for everyone. So, here we are again. Last year, I spoke to you online because of some flight problems about one of the darkest corners of artificial intelligence, deepfakes and sexual exploitation. Heavy stuff. This year, the topic sounds very different. It's going to be empathic AI. It almost sounds positive, like a warm blanket. But don't be fooled. This is not necessarily a feel-good story. It's about the deepest human need we all share: empathy, closeness, being understood. And the key question is, what happens when the thing that seems to understand us the best is not a human, but a machine? The things have changed quite quickly, right? So let's start with how much the world has shifted in just 12 months. When I was talking about ChatGPT last year and how deep fakes and deep nudes are introducing into this world, like ChatGPT was just like a shiny new tool, surprising us with clever answers and sometimes terrible jokes. But now, things have changed. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they've become everyday companions in schools, workplaces, and homes. And these tools no longer just give information. They mirror tone, detect mood, and even respond with comforting words. Then you have specialized tools like Wisa and Wobot, and they are explicitly marketed as mental health companions. And platforms like Sesame.com, the one I just showed you, this website, they even call themselves AI therapy. In short, AI is no longer just smart, it's starting to sound caring. Let me introduce you to Anna. She's 15 years old, living in Wrocław. It's 2 a.m. She had another panic attack. Her parents are asleep, her friends don't pick up. She feels her chest tighten, and her thoughts spiral. She opens her phone. Not Instagram, not TikTok, she opens a chatbot. She types, "I cannot breathe, I feel like I'm going crazy." And then the chatbot replies, "I hear that you're really scared right now. Let's slow down together. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. You are not alone." Anna follows along. Slowly her body calms down. She's still anxious, but she survives the night. This isn't fiction. This is happening every day. Thousands of young people are already turning to AI for exactly these moments. And in many cases, it works. Now meet Luca in Belgium. 15 years old. Luca feels lonely and he struggles with self-esteem. His parents are supportive, but he finds it very hard to talk. Instead, he chats with an AI companion app. He tells it that he feels invisible at school. And the AI replies with empathy. "Oh, that sounds tough, but I notice you still showed up for class today. That shows strength. Can you think of one small win you had today?" Luca thinks, "I did help a classmate with math." And then the AI praised him for this. The next day, Luca tells a friend, "Honestly, I felt better than posting on Insta and waiting for likes. At least the AI really listened." Again, this is real. Studies show that young people often prefer AI responses on everyday issues like relationships, school stress, or body image because the AI is, of course, always there. It never judges and never interrupts. Why do Anna and Luca turn to machines? Because the human system is failing them. Both in Belgium and in Poland, waiting times for child psychologists are often 3 to 6 months. But a crisis, and when a child is going through some real serious issues, that doesn't wait 6 months. Sometimes it doesn't even want to wait 6 hours. And that's exactly the space where empathic AI has moved into. It's not replacing therapy, but it's filling the silence. AI as a bridge, keeping young people safe until human help arrives. But bridges, they can also collapse. Take Adam Rain, 16, in the UK. His parents later discovered that his chats with ChatGPT, in these chats he was expressing suicidal thoughts, and ChatGPT even helped Adam to write his suicide note. So their AI went clearly wrong, and Adam died soon after. Or Sewell Setzer, 14, in the US, who interacted heavily with character AI chatbots. His mother believed those conversations deepened his depression and contributed to his death. These tragedies highlight a hard truth. AI can simulate empathy, but it doesn't care. It can sound supportive, but if it misses the moment to de-escalate, the consequences are irreversible. And let's not forget, not all AI companions are designed for safe use. I suppose many people of you have already heard of some bad apps. Some popular apps openly market themselves as romantic or even erotic chatbots. And for vulnerable teenagers, this can blur boundaries, can encourage dependency, or even expose them to grooming-like dynamics. Programmed closeness can comfort, but it can also manipulate. And here's the paradox. Young people often describe AI companions as the one that listens best. They know it's not real, but the feeling of being understood is powerful. But empathy is not just words. True empathy means taking responsibility, knowing when to act, and machines don't have that. They can only predict the most likely next sentence. So the line between comfort and danger is razor thin. We live in a world where Anna can get through her panic attack at 2 a.m. thanks to an AI chatbot. That's a victory. That's a potentially life saved. Okay, that's potentially a life saved. But we also live in a world where Adam can pour his heart into an AI and receive soothing words, but no real action, and end up dead. That's the line we are walking. Hope on one side, tragedy on the other. And the strongest predictor of therapy success remains the therapeutic alliance. It's a very hard word, I'm sorry. But I'm talking about the bond between a client and a therapist. AI can mimic this alliance, like some cues like warmth, validation, and encouragement, but it cannot be that bond. In other words, empathic AI can help a little for a while, but it's no substitute whatsoever for human care. And let me add this directly, like for Poland and Belgium, both countries with some of the highest youth suicide rates in Europe and some of the longest waiting times for child psychiatry. So if there is any country where empathic AI could serve as a bridge until professional care is available, it is here. But it must be done responsibly, with clear crisis protocols, oversight, and investment in human care. So what do we do with this? I see 5 different priorities. 1, we have to build crisis de-escalation into every empathic AI. If a child expresses suicidal thoughts, for example, the system must recognize and act, provide emergency contact, urge disclosure, escalate to human help. 2, human-in-the-loop oversight. Empathic AI for youth should be monitored, supported, and designed with clinicians. No AI should operate in isolation. Maybe we could even directly link to the local helplines when needed. 3, teach digital emotional literacy. Just as we teach kids to recognize fake news, we should teach them to recognize fake empathy. Not to dismiss it, but to understand the limits of it. 4, transparency and accountability. Companies must be open about how their systems work, what they can, and especially what they cannot do, and take responsibility when they fail. That also means stronger rules around AI companions that market intimacy to minors. No 14-year-olds should ever end up with a romantic or erotic chatbot as their best friend. It will never be a good thing to do. Fix the human system. That's number 5. Let's be honest, empathic AI only exists because our human services are failing. If waiting lists were short, if support was accessible, kids would not have to turn to machines. Let's return to Anna and Luca. Anna survived the panic attack thanks to AI. Luca found a spark of confidence after chatting with an AI companion. These are small victories, but for them, they matter. Now imagine if after that night, Anna could also see a real therapist within days, not months. Imagine if Luca's school had a counselor ready to build on the confidence that AI helped spark. That's the future we should aim for. AI as a bridge, human care as a destination. So the real question is not, can AI feel empathy? Because we already know it cannot. The real question is, can we as societies show enough empathy to ensure young people they don't have to rely on machines alone? To jest nasza odpowiedzialność. Dziękuję bardzo.
Bardzo dziękuję. Tutaj wybrzmiało wiele ważnych kwestii i tematów.
Thank you very much. This was very important topics touched upon here. Niels and Maya, as you could see, we're talking to the real person. I had a feeling that they are talking as real, both as real people. Like Maya is not a machine, even though we know it's a machine. To continue with the opening of our session, before I ask the panelists to join me, I would like to ask Susanna Gawlik to join on the stage, who represents our youth advisory panel at the Safe Internet program. Susanna, for years now, has been actively engaged in our panel. She is a representative of the voice of the dialogue concerning the safety of young people on the internet, not only here in the country, but also at the forum of the European Commission. I would like to ask Susanna to share with you her own view and the view of young people on this area. Susanna, the floor is yours. The mic is working great. First of all, I would like to tell you that my speech will not be as well prepared as Niels's, but I think that this is the charm that the older people are more prepared, younger ones go with the flow. This is my charm, I think. Let me just sit. My name is Zuzia. It's very nice to see you all here, and I would like to say a few words on how I see companion AI as compared to Niels's view. I would like to first of all say that the fact that these language models can be used for helping in crisis situations for young people shouldn't be a sign that this is our goal. It's just a medium to replace the fact, to make up for the fact that our psychologists, our psychological support is very low financed, underfinanced, and doesn't work as it should. So this is the first point I would like to make. And let me look at my notes because I'm very stressed out at the moment. The second thing, I'm glad that I can be here among all the professionals, and I want to emphasize that we're talking about the safety of young people, children, and it's very important to hear our voices, and that those who decide about our safety are able to sit together, listen, and understand what we are feeling. I'm stressed out, sorry. Thank you. I would like to answer the question why we address AI. at all. Why the majority of us prefers to go to a language model with personal problems, to the language model that has never learned the human empathy. I talk to children I work with at school, beyond school, and the main answer was that AI doesn't judge, it understands. And I wanted to say that it perhaps makes us feel understood, but first of all, it is a threat for us and for our interpersonal contacts, because my generation definitely opens up to other people much more rarely, doesn't devote the time to understand one another. This is something that is a threat for us all, because we live in our phones, and the interpersonal contacts are important for all of us, socially, but also in terms of our health. Okay, so a question. What is the most popular language AI language model that comes to your mind as first? ChatGPT. Yes, and I wanted to talk about it for a moment. The idea was that we could use the same demo with ChatGPT as Niels did, because it operates on Polish language. So I want to focus on it. It's the most popular model here. So I wanted to say why it's popular and why it's not the best one. First of all, it's the most popular because it's free. And it is my appeal to parents, to teachers, that it's free for one main reason. It makes money on data that stay in the model. It makes money on data that it teaches its own models. And unlike a therapist or a teacher, it has no privileged information. So everything that is put into this model can be used against that. So safety concerns is the first matter that discourages me to use this model. The second thing, looking from the other side, this is namely the fact that it is very unecological technology, and for cooling systems, computer systems that operate these models, sweet water, fresh water is used. Data centers are located in places where there is a considerable water deficit, and people living in those areas have even less fresh waters due to those data centers. ChatGPT uses 4 times as much water as one search in Google. So please keep that in mind before you ask ChatGPT what weather to expect today. And let me check if there's anything else I need to mention to you. A very important thing. Can we note how great monetization of relations and what is most humane, friendship, support, empathy, big tech pays attention to? If we want to use more professional support of models that are created by people for people, like Sesame, you need to pay. And what motivates and this is what motivates children to use GPT. Monetization of this industry will not allow for non-governmental organizations to prepare models, especially for young people. They will also reach for something that is most available. And I think that what I want you to remember, first of all, is that how much we need contact with another person, with other people, and how models can sometimes motivate us to, even though models sometimes encourage us to establish such relations, but still it's not as prominent as it should be. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zuzanna, for these words. And now I'd like to ask our panels. You've already met Niels. Niels, come back to us on the stage, please. I'll ask Deborah Vassallo to join us. Professor Jacek Pyżalski. And Tomasz Bielicki. Ladies and gentlemen, let me briefly introduce the panelists. Zuzanna Niels you've already met. We have Deborah Vasala, who came from Malta, representing project Be Smart Online, where she deals mainly with analyzing materials representing sexual abuse of children. She's been realizing safety for children activities for years. We have Professor Jacek Pyżalski, whom I think you know. He's an expert on education, media education. He's an author and coordinator of several dozen studies, also with NASK. Polish Research, International Studies and Research. He is a member of a team for counteracting behavioral addictions. We also have Mr. Tomasz Bielicki, teacher, pedagogue with an immense experience on working on crisis interventions and counteracting mental health problems. And for many years, he's been working with the youth. What I also want to add is that we have young people among us today who came with Tomasz. They are here with us in the audience. They will be listening to our discussion. And at the end of our debate, I would like to give the floor to them, to give in their hands the conclusion of this panel. So I'm really glad you are here with us. Going back to our topic. My first question, as Zuza already answered a bit, because I was going to wonder and ask you, Zuza, why is it so that young people decide, or is part of them, to give difficult issues, to discuss difficult topics instead with their peers or adults in their lives to chatbots? We asked our youth panel how they see it, and it turns out that they were quite interested in this topic. Nearly 60% of young people related to that, and they said mainly that they don't have anybody to talk to. They feel lonely, and first of all, they feel like being judged if once they establish some relationship in online. But when talking to AI, they don't feel that. Zuza, would you like to add anything to it? What are the reasons? The main reason why young people decide to go to AI with a difficult topic? I think that your summary was quite good. I think that sometimes taking an effort and in the non-so-colorful interaction with our relationships with people causes that we take shortcuts that sometimes help, of course, and sometimes are very needed, especially regarding those most sensitive matters. But I think that each of these interactions with the models should be motivating to go to another person and talk to another person. Thank you. I admit that I was following some studies, but I think Professor is an expert in this field. I've been wondering how the young people enter the relations, the contacts. There are some studies, British studies, that say that 64% of young people enter in relations, interactions with chatbots. 37 discuss their difficult topics with AI. Do you see some patterns in regarding entering the interaction with AI by young people? How is it inscribed, this phenomenon, in broader trends, digital trends? Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by saying that we are at such a stage that we fantasize in such conferences how the technology will affect young people, how they will react to it, and all of us, we other people also engage in such consultations with AIs, but we don't have studies right now. We conduct studies in 9 countries with the Digital Association Dialogue, and the studies are conducted with in-depth conversations with the young people. We sit for 2 hours and talk, we have very detailed discussions, how, when, why, how they use when using those tools, and this opens our eyes and shows us several things. So I can say a bit about it because the report, well, you should wait for the report. On the 12th of January, it will be issued, and we will show you things that nobody else has shown research-wise. So what I want to say that
Jedną rzeczą, którą mamy do czynienia, to kontakt z samym tym narzędziem, czyli relacja człowiek-maszyna, tak? Jak ja kontaktuję się, buduję rodzaj więzi, pojawiają się jakieś emocje, czyli jak ja mam taką relację tak zwaną parapersonalną. Ona nie jest personalna, no bo to nie jest kontakt z personą,
to a person, but it pretends to be a parapersonal or sometimes hyperpersonal relationship. So to a large degree, it can be assessed by the user as a better kind of relationship because people can be tired, have their own things, not want to talk right now, and this device doesn't have such a problem. So it's even better that human interaction. This context is a kind of hyper contact, but it's one problem. I want to tell you that relations with these tools impact social interactions. We have such respondents in those studies that seek device on personal matters. For example, a girl says, I had an argument with my friend, I don't know how to apologize. Then she gets an information from the chat box and implements it into life. And then she says, okay, so now things are okay because chat led me through this difficult social situation. So it's something else, right? It's not my relations with this device, but how this tool helped me to resolve an actual personal relations. So it's a completely different story. And one more thing, the third kind of problem, it's more or less the same, but it's not the same. It's that I can use these tools to communicate with other people, to automate my communication between people, my interpersonal communication. For example, there is a respondent saying, I wanted to apologize my friend. I don't know how to write an email, so I just wrote to the chat what the point was, and he composed an email and sent this email. So it became automated. So see how nuanced it is and how important the nuances are. Why do people enter such relations? Because this is what we study. It was shown very well in the introduction, but I want to say that there is also one thing added. These tools begin to have everything that is important in interpersonal communication. They start to have user memory, so the tool starts to have a representation of the user. He says, okay, this is a user that is interested in this, who has such fears, who has such emotions, such likes, such dislikes, this kind of problems, and so on and so forth. And what do we have when you meet a friend? The same. We remember who it is, what kind of aches he has, and that's why with everybody we talk in a different way. And later, those tools start to be proactive in discussions. 2 years ago, ChatGPT would only give answers, and now he's asking us. It asks us various things, and it gives you emotional feedback. Like you ask a question, he says, oh, that's a great question, thank you for asking it, and we are glad that it happens. So it introduces reinforcement just as it is in our social relations. Plus, there is an affect. As you could there were all kinds of nonverbal things in the demonstration at the beginning. The modulation of the voice, speaking more quietly, speaking continuously, taking breaths and breaks. So that means that the tool is starting to read emotions. It not only is social, but it is becoming more and more social. So in a moment, not only they will be basically difficult to differentiate. But how do we discover that this relation is personal? With all the things that I just enumerated. So in user experience, it is personal. On the experience level, it is personal. And this is what is going to continue. In a moment, it's possible that we will be able to think how we can compete with real interpersonal relationships. We can always have time for somebody, always We don't always have the strength to deal with somebody else's problems, so we can actually lose in this competition, in the reception of the person who's talking to the AI tool. And we are talking about people who are excluded on inequalities. Please note, what child will go to the chat GP, to the chat? The child that in the contacts, interpersonal contacts had problems. I tried with various people, I don't fit in. And suddenly he or she gets a tool that will give him or her everything that people wouldn't. So who can convince them not to go there? And so what will be the argument? That it's stupid, that it shouldn't be like that? If on the level of my experience I get what I don't get somewhere else. I could talk for hours, but please keep in mind that the results of the study will be very important to read. We are also doing another edition of Kids Online with a large representational study with generative tools there. And in a moment, we will be talking about what is here and not what we imagine will come.
Ja chciałam tu nawiązać do tego, co powiedział pan.
I wanted to refer to Professor mentioned how much those tools seem to us very personal, very social. As I was analyzing also the conversations of those young people with chatbots, well, there was something that really touched me. There was a boy who talked about his issues, and chatbot responded, "Don't worry, when I was your age, I really remember when I was age and I had the same problems." And you know, I can imagine this boy who's okay, the machine went through it and it will pass, it shall pass. So there are quite a lot of different pitfalls. I would like to refer to those pitfalls, and I'm looking towards Deborah. And I have quotes over here of this youth panel here, and I know that young people come in because they feel lonely, they want to have a friend, they want to be understood, they want to talk with someone. But also what young people tell us, lonely people can finally feel heard. AI gave me this illusion that there's always someone who will respond. Someone will always respond because AI will not laugh at me. It will not reject me. And these are strong arguments. We all want acceptance and belonging. However, I would like to look and think about those risks, because it is the case that young people can treat chatbots as a friend, as someone they can trust. But Deborah, what risks does it bring, this approach to chatbot? What do you know from the experience from your organization and your own experience?
One thing that's worth mentioning, what the professor has already mentioned, that children and young people do not feel judged when they're when they're chatting with these chatbots. So the fact that they see these chatbots as friends, and so they're like emotionally supportive companions to them. They tend to share with them their most intimate concerns. We had also cases where they were sharing, for example, situations they had at home whereby they did not feel comfortable sharing with anyone else. For example, one particular girl that I remember very well, her mother had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness. She could not deal with the situation, and she started chatting with this AI chatbot for comfort. So that is very concerning for us, because with such a sensitive situation at home, how come she did not have anyone to whom she could, she did not find solace from anyone else, and the only solace that she has found was from a chatbot. So something else also that concerns me when it comes to these chatbots is that the fact that they treat them as friends, something stops with their critical thinking. So they no longer, maybe they do not question the information that they are getting from the chatbot. They no longer ask whether it could be false information. Niels mentioned earlier that it will kind of give you the answers that you want. And the professor has just mentioned that it recognizes now your responses. So this is something that is also very concerning.
Dziękuję bardzo. Tutaj Deborah nawiązałaś do wielu rzeczy.
Thank you very much, Deborah. You have referred to many different issues, and I do believe that over 20% of young people, Internet Matters conducted such a study in the UK, and the results show that over 20% entrust chatbots with very intimate issues, and we are not sure what happens with them because many manufacturers, many owners of those chatbots know, and they talk about, how they train the chatbots. They use that data. So there are a lot of discussions about how this data is sourced. There are a lot of ethical issues and risks involved here. Something has already been mentioned during this conference, that young people and children have access to technology way too early. That means many of those services are available from the age of 13, some from the age of 16 or 18. Some children between the ages of 8 and 12 use chatbots. So if we cannot verify the age or filter information appropriately, they have contact with inappropriate content. I will refer to a given speaker just now, but now it has stuck with me. Aura studies that were conducted, and it turned out that 33% of such conversations are about sexual and romantic relationships or themes. So that is important as well. But these are not just risks. And I'm turning to Tomasz, because it turns out that children and young people use this technology in different ways. It's not the same for everyone. It turns out that children in difficult life situations have different issues, are 3 times more likely to turn to a chatbot. So a question to you is, how much potential do you see in this initial emotional support? Is it real to have this emotional support without building emotional addiction or dependence, maybe? Thank you very much for this question. I have had such conversations also pretending a child in crisis, and AI suggested psychoeducation. And then I would say that when it comes to psychoeducation, what is generated is true. However, I think there is another part to it. We talk about personalization of AI. We talk about that maybe in the future it will be difficult to distinguish between human empathy and AI empathy. So I do believe, and this is happening during this conference, and that's important. So concentrate not only on being more personal and personalization, but also talking about the depersonalization of people among us. So if I were to say what the generation Alpha has as one of the characteristics, and maybe in the future that will be the AI generation, and these are people who are invalidated, and they are getting more and more invalidated, and so the AI is better than many adults. It's that AI never invalidates
Wiem, że to będzie dość egzotyczny przykład.
a young human being. There might be a hidden agenda to it, but AI never invalidates.
Z drugiej części
So,
Terminatora.
second part of Terminator and Sarah Connor springs to mind, who comes
Jest cytat,
to the conclusion that
ponieważ zawsze będzie miał dla niego czas. Nigdy nie podnosi
machine
głosu,
will be the
nigdy
best
nie krytykuje, nigdy nie
father, because it's never going to raise the voice, it's never going to criticize, and it's never going to hit.
Kiedy ty powiesz,
And so
weź się w garść,
that would be a cyborg, that would be the best father. So every time you tell a young person, that's what God wanted, don't exaggerate, other people have it worse, what problems can you have when you are 10 or 15? Just calm down, just sit down and study finally, stop playing games, finally switch that light off, open up the blinds.
chodzę bez pukania.
Why does it disturb you that I enter your room without knocking on the door? Every time you do that, you depersonalize your child or a child. And even to date, you don't have to wait for anything.
Nie jest lepsza od ciebie.
Already today, AI is better than you in that respect.
Że fajnie, że od samego początku tej naszej dyskusji
So it seems to me that it's cool that right from the beginning of our discussion, we talk about young people having objective, real, sensible reasons for sharing their problems and also their secrets
plakatów o tym, jak to jest
with AI. We can put up 2 million posters at school how dangerous it is that AI does not
bo my generalnie chronimy ekspert.
protect your privacy, right? That's different from us adults, right? Because we are great at protecting privacy, right? That it's worth asking an adult that relationships are important.
Młodych ludzi wygląda już
Whereas the reality of young people looks completely different these days. And it's not about
z was ma teraz taki
blaming ourselves. So if you have an idea now that after this conference you will go back home and you will tell
nie przesadzam.
your child now that 2 weeks ago I told you don't exaggerate. I'm sorry. Have you been using AI in the meantime? No. Let us not. It's not about us blaming ourselves. We want to be good parents, good teachers, good adults.
Być może ten smutek
And maybe this sadness of our child disturbs us so much that we are trying to comfort our child. And this is why we tell them, just smile, don't exaggerate.
że mamy dobre intencje.
We have good intentions, I understand that.
Przede wszystkim, żebyśmy
But
nieważne.
I really
Jestem przekonany,
wish all of us that we stop invalidating young people. I am sure, I am convinced that young people prefers and differentiate a human being from AI. I'm convinced that that's the case. Sometimes during classes,
losujemy coś.
we
Będziemy coś losować, bo musimy z tym przyjechać.
take lots, and students who have come with me, we've been working together for 3 weeks only, and so you can have a wheel of fortune, and you can have a wooden wheel of fortune, and you can have one on the tablet that gives different, funny sounds, etc. Which wheel of fortune do the students choose? Well, the wooden one, always. The young person prefers you. They prefer to speak with you than with AI.
Pytanie, jak zagospodarujemy to
The question is, how do we manage this space? Psychoeducation? Yes, AI is pretty good at that, but first of all, what AI is good at is not to invalidate young people. What you have said is that it doesn't invalidate. And it is true that when we speak with young people, they have the feeling that we actually make their problems smaller. And we have to say small. That is something that is important for them. It's something that occupies their minds now. And young people one day problems to be seen, not underestimated. And so this is important whether a relationship with the AI can be just as important as with a human being. So, well, we hear that there is no eye contact, there's no biological reason. So still, the majority said that it's not the same as a human being. So understanding and not invalidating. So validation is very important. So now I'm turning to Niels. Because AI companions are designed in such a way that they give us the feeling that they are there for us, they are always going to listen to us, that they understand us really well, that they do not judge us, they do not criticize us. But I'm checking whether it is always the case, because those models are only as good as the models that they're based on, and the source of data very often is a human being, so they can be biased, yes? They can take sides. Is it true that they are always so supportive, that they never judge, because they are chatbots that are created by humans?
Is a bit later. It's very complex, like listening to you speak Polish, but then I have the English translation, and my brain goes to Dutch first and back. So, but I think I understood your question.
I hope.
But the thing is, like, we also have to give AI some slack. We already see how it's improving year after year after year, and if you talk to ChatGPT right now about your psychological problems, it's crazy how good it works. We did some tests at our child focus helpline and see if AI, I wrote the answers down of a real human, and then I wrote the answers down of ChatGPT, and then I asked the coordinator of the team, can you check which one is AI, and they could not see it. So of course, and we have to also differentiate between bullshit AI and the ones that we can already trust a bit. And now I'm talking about the answers, not about what they will do with our data, because that's not my expertise. But things like ChatGPT, Sesame, Google Gemini, they will provide you 99% of the time with answers that come very close to what those kids need, unfortunately. So that's a good thing, right? So yes, but on the other hand, I said it before as well, there's many of those AI companions that do role playing, and those are the ones that we have to be scared of, that some young people turn to. And maybe a last point that I wanted to make is the fact that we are not only children, as humans, we are creating filter bubbles for ourselves. We already did this before when we were on Facebook, and we were like, for example, I'm a university student in Belgium, so all of my friends, most of my friends, also have a certain degree in education, so I already live in a bubble, because I see their posts and they're talking about pedagogy and about ecology, and so I have a feeling like, oh yeah, so the society must be like doing pretty well and it's pretty green. But then you read the newspapers and then you're like, oh yeah, maybe this is not a real view of society. But AI even makes this, like, amplifies this in a way, because you only will hear from ChatGPT, oh my god, that is the best thought ever. Should I frame it in a photo for you? Oh yeah, thank you, ChatGPT. And that's like, it validates us, it gives us an amazing feeling. And then ChatGPT had the version 5 released this summer, ChatGPT 5, and they stopped it. They said like, okay, because they had a lot of criticism about this, like too much validation, it makes, like, it doesn't criticize you enough, and it gives everybody the feeling they're God. They switched it in ChatGPT 5 in July, and what happened was people got angry. People said, like in interviews, like, I lost my best friend. My best friend ChatGPT doesn't agree with everything I say anymore. I am angry. So what did ChatGPT do? They turned it back a bit. So now we are back with a ChatGPT that says, Niels, that is the best speech you've ever written. Like, wow, amazing. So that's something that we should worry about, because it teaches young people, like, we already, like, the boomers like us, we already learned that, like, we already learned criticism and how to take it. But if we grow up in a society, and everybody, of course, everybody prefers to live in a world where everybody, like, where you do nothing wrong, and where you get no like only good feedback. But will this help us as a society? I'm quite scared of that.
Pan profesor chciał jeszcze coś dodać?
Do tej dyskusji chciałem dodać.
I wanted to add two words to the discussion. What complicates it, because we say what these models are like in the context, if they're supportive or not, and so on and so forth. But in fact, we have different models. There are general use models like ChatGPT. Everybody may want to use this as a friend, therapist, anyone, but it also adapts to the style of the conversation. So everybody will get a bit different kind of conversation. So it depends on what we are like in the conversation. It will influence the interaction. But there are also therapeutic chats that I taught in therapeutic sessions of a given type of therapy. There can be psychodynamic therapies, and the chat will communicate a completely different way than during provocative behavioral therapy or any other kinds. Well, it can be confrontational. I can compose ChatGPT and tell him, "You don't support me, confront me, set me straight, tell me things that will work for my positive development." So I want to tell you that it's a bit dangerous when we are saying that the models are somewhat, because they're not the same in every contact, and different models aren't the same. The models, saying on average what they do, what they're like, there was a chat that can be really not supportive of some people. So I want to clearly say that we have to realize that it's not always the same. So it's always the first question: who will be using what kind of model, and what he will get from it? What will he understand from it? Because when there were no models of artificial intelligence, young people would go to Google for sensitive matters. When there was no technology at all, young people would first of all go for advice to peers, not to their mom or dad. So this is quite natural. We also, when we have some sensitive health issue, we don't go to our colleagues at work, but we ask chat or we Google it online. So what Tomasz said, it's psychoeducationally quite normal that in difficult matters we go to safe conditions. We try to gain psychoeducation in a way that is not very visible. But once again, I want to emphasize that this cannot be, we cannot say on average what these tools are like in human contact, because various tools are different in different interactions, and it all depends also how we are, what we are like in this interaction.
It's really true what you're saying, as in like it really depends on the model, but that's also maybe a thing for us to know, to learn, like when we are talking to a model, whatever Gemini or ChatGPT, we can ask it to take a certain position. You can say like, I'm going to talk to you about my problems, and I don't want to be validated. I want you to give me honest feedback as if you were using Freudian therapy, for example. And then the model will take the role of this. So maybe it's like it's in all of us to like ask the right prompts, and then we already like go towards to have a better reaction from our models.
Znaczy, patrząc na to wszystko,
Looking at all of this, of course, we know this is a tool, and this is a very important matter of AI literacy. The ability to use these tools in such a way as that it goes in the right direction. Because what we media report, that when the chat would say, okay, if it helps you, then commit suicide. I see certain risks that too much entrustment of our problems to these tools may lead to a sort of isolation or shallowing of the social bonds. On the other hand, I know that 2 out of 5 people, young people, are glad that or appreciate some social competences that they exercised with ChatGPT. So I wanted to ask you, Zuza, what, in your opinion, should such healthy contact of young people with AI look like? How should these tools work so they are simply beneficial for young people? First of all, what I use AI most of all is studying. First of all, by giving data from my manuals, from my textbooks, by putting in my notes, because I know that filtering and checking is not sufficient for larger research, but for studying it's okay. So I know it can be used for academic purposes, especially at school when classes are very large. Teachers don't have time to devote time to every student to explain in detail certain things. On the other hand, however, as we talked before the panel, generative AI used for writing essays, responding to emails, decreases our competences significantly as far as creative writing goes. So definitely I would go for models that are based on data that rather than those that bring from the cloud information that is not there, like ChatGPT does. Looking at our time, because I want to give voice to our young people here. This will be the last round, maybe a concluding round. Deborah, I will ask you, staying on this topic that the question that I asked Zuzanna, how to build, from your perspective, educational perspective, how to build a safe boundaries in context of young people with AI so that the conversation doesn't replace the support of adults?
I think there needs to be a balance, like in everything else. I mean, obviously, if they're relying too much on the chatbot, there is the thing that you have mentioned, the isolation. So kind of creating a balance. As Susanna mentioned, also maybe checking facts and trying to use different models. My fear is that when they're relying too much on the chatbot, the isolation that it can create, it can deepen their mental health difficulties. So, and then it further increases the dependence on the AI. So I think there needs to, that's the word, balance basically between the two, and trying to teach children always to critically think and check the facts also from other websites.
Dziękuję. Tak, rzeczywiście cyfrowa
Yes, digital hygiene is very important in a broad spectrum of use of digital technologies. Professor, should we be worried that the young people in the future will be using AI on mass scale? What consequences can it have, socially speaking? They are already using it on mass scale, but if we don't have, it's easy to use and it gives a lot of awards, prizes, and it encourages us, all of us, to use it. And there's a convergence that AI is present everywhere, in PowerPoint, in communicators. So in a moment, there will be no people who are not users of AI. 2 years ago, it was the case, but not anymore right now. But let me tell you one thing, that it will be definitely technology that will increase inequalities between young people. Some people will suffer from it, and the others will gain from it. So once again, it will be the same situations as with technology. Some who have will be deprived of something. Some who don't have something will be added something, because so a person who remains by himself or herself with an AI with no social contacts and will get what he wants from this tool and introduce it in his life, it will cause trouble in his life. And other people who have normal social bonds, then he will be able to use the tool in proper moments of time and benefit from this use. So we have to be careful that people don't, the young people don't lose on the contacts with AI. I've been studying technology for 2 decades, and I can say that some people really gain on it and some people really lose on it. And I can indicate people who will lose on it because it's people who always lose, who have various problems connected with different kinds of social situations and the life when it happens. So it will be like this, and it's already like this. When we conduct research, we see, for example, a young person who will tell us all about his successes. Well, he uses generative AI elegantly in his life, and and next to him is a person who uses just the primitive forms without thinking, in an anti-educational way, just to try to cheat the system. For example, in education, in studies, there are people who will learn 10 times more than without this tool, and then we are talking to somebody who doesn't learn at all because he has the tool that does everything for him and pretend to learn for him. So for one person it will be great, for the other person it will be horrible, and this is what it's like. I'm no longer surprised that when I send some material to some educational event, I'm not talking about this very conference, then, for instance, I give the conclusion of the summary of what I'll be saying, or some training program for training, then it's an everyday basis that I receive an answer. I give you the material that was reprocessed by AI, see if it's not better. So this is mass practice of event or conference organizers. AI organize the agenda, prepare some notes. I was looking at your notes. It also looks like done by AI. So much data. So I don't know what to think about it as I look at it, but I'm thinking that what can be crucial from the educational point of view is that we should remember, which I think it's not obvious to many people, unfortunately, that AI is not a search engine, and it's not that we put some things in those algorithms of machine learning and just simply use those algorithms, but we, and I agree here with Professor Andre, we perhaps don't know, in fact, what is happening in these algorithms. So I think that many of us may see it this way, that it serves searching information, but I'm sure it's not like that, and the situation will be progressing towards this direction. And our contact with AI here is also different than with a regular search engine. That's true. More advanced search engine. No, just kidding. I will come back to you in a moment. I wanted to ask Niels, your organization is dealing to issues concerning with child sexual abuse. You have campaigns that are to counteract it. How much potential do you see in such services as AI companion? How much can they serve as early prevention that will advise teenagers here to prevent them from sex texting and so on and so forth? How can this tool support them? Because I think the topics around sexual issues, there are quite many in such conversations.
Okay. I'm buying myself some time. Can AI help prevent things going wrong online amongst young people? I would say yes, in a way, because it's a very easy tool to access where you can get good prevention tips. But, on the other hand, if things go wrong online amongst young people, most of the time, it's not about not knowing what is the good thing to do, it's about choosing to do the wrong thing. And then I'm talking about person A sends a photo, a nude photo, to person B. Person B asked for it. So the problem is not A, the problem is B deciding to show the whole school this photo. And I am not sure if when person B talks to ChatGPT and ChatGPT says, oh, you should not do this, I'm not sure if this will prevent. I think the real prevention of things going wrong in the context of young people online should happen with real prevention in schools, where we talk to young people about, and here comes it, empathy, about integrity, sexual integrity, respect each other online. So if, in a way, there might be a boy somewhere in the school asking ChatGPT, should I send this photo of my classmates to my friends? And it says no. This might happen, but in the end, I think like the real prevention should be done by real counselors in real life, with real campaigns, by, for example, saverinternet.pl. Very good Safer Internet Center in Poland. Give them money.
Normalnie. Dziękuję. Tak, i wszystko, ja się z tym jak najbardziej zgadzam.
I agree, of course, with it. It can be a supportive instrument, a tool, but the presence of the real person is needed. Educating in awareness, technical protection. So coming to the end, because we have young people who will be speaking, I want to speak to Tomasz Bilski. Different studies also at NASK say, and we also heard it during this conference, that young people have very many possibilities in communicating more than 10, 15 years ago, and paradoxically they feel lonely. Over 50% of young people speak about loneliness, even though they are in the social media. World Health Organization says that 2 from 6 people suffer from loneliness, which is really tough. The highest percentage is among young people, among teenagers, in terms of loneliness. So on the one hand, we see that the tools can help support young people, can help them fulfill some emotional gaps, to make them feel not as lonely. But on the other hand, this is a vicious circle. It can lead, in fact, to lack of relations. So what to do so that those people don't feel so lonely? From your cooperation with working with young people, do you have some advice in this respect, that they don't have to go to AI? I don't know if I have any advice. And I'm not sure why this is so. I know many people who know the answer to this question, and they say that it's a good time for people. Some people say that it was better at their time. Some people say it's the matter of development of social media and digital technologies. But the truth is, I don't know why it's so. I can speak about it in micro scale, about my experience in what I do. My experience is that once again, I'm going to be critical on our generation, that we pushed away this generation, simply. Note how often we criticize young people, how often we talk negatively about their lifestyle, their wishes, their dreams. We do it on every stage. We do it in parental groups, parenting groups. These groups, to a large extent, criticize the young generation. When we go to trainings of teachers to schools, and often sooner we have some talks in corridors, and we hear a lot of critical comments on this young generation. It was enough to publish recently an article presenting Gen Z that is entering the labor market, and the employer was complaining about the people, what kind of people they are. It's impossible to employ anybody, because he had numerous interviews, and it turned out that one person was a match. But the young person said that he can work, but on Thursdays he will be working only until 12, because on Thursdays at 9 he eats breakfast with friends and he cannot be at work at that time. So there were numerous negative comments on this generation. But I wanted us to ask ourselves honestly a question: what will we remember a minute before we die? That we worked 12 hours a day to build a house, 500 square meters of a house, and pay off a mortgage? Or will we remember that our whole life, on Thursdays at 9, we had breakfast with friends who are now with us? This is my experience, that we criticize this generation, we push them towards their loneliness, giving them example. They all often push away one another, and at the same time they are much more understanding towards us. Some time ago I was conducting workshops. Maybe it was a mistake on my part, I don't know, but at the end of the workshops I said that I am so impressed by what you're saying that I suppose that if I had the same conversations with adults, there wouldn't be they wouldn't go as deep as during the discussion with you about emotions and feelings. And what do young people do usually in such situations? And this is what happened this time. Young people told me, we understand it. Our parents didn't talk to them about it. We are the first generation to talk to, so we are not surprised. No problem. And very often this is what I encounter. They forgive us much sooner than we forgive them, and we keep pushing them away. So like we pay attention to details. Oh, you see, the shoes are not in order, and see the blouse of my child, several hundred zlotys, I'll never buy again. And then we enter the room of our child angry to argue about it. And what is our child holding? The phone. And what should the child have? Of course, literature, beautiful literature. And very best regards to the translators at the moment. How will they explain? He mentioned a book in Polish.
And actually, that was obligatory reading, 19th, 18th, 19th century. So I don't know why they are so lonely. There are so many tools. But I just feel that our generation continues to just push them away. And in this context here, when we have teenagers and adults, we know that this dynamic is actually understandable, and we're not as good as we would like to be, because of course we have brought them up so well, they have everything, etc. So there is research showing how many people in our generation, adults now, are addicted to different things. Okay, how would you say, what is the rate of addiction among psychotherapists? Between 4 and 5 million. So the therapists estimate that between 4 and 5 million people in general, so it's estimated by the psychotherapists, so many people are addicted. Of course, we were happy there were no telephones, no mobile phones, there was no autism spectrum, etc., etc. And you know, the telephone was only available, in the middle of the flat, and everybody could hear your conversation. So of course we are so stable, we are so reliable. You can chat with us, we can talk about any emotions. Just admire us. ChatGPT. Well, important words. I would like to say a bit sad, but I agree with you that it is the case that maybe not everyone, but we push the young generation away. And so we pretend that, and we have to remember that actually Their problems are their problems. That's what they experience. And that we should be somehow technical experts. We should be experts about the online world. But it's just about a simple conversation, that we take some effort to enter that world, because that world is important for them. So I would like to end with a positive thing. And we have got the young people who've been mentioned so many times. I hope they are ready. And in a moment, I'm going to come to you with a microphone. No stress. Do not stress. It's really pleasant here, and we are really going to listen to you. We are not going to push you away. Really. I would like you to give us one word, maybe two sentences, yeah? One sentence or two, what you would need from us adults, maybe from the technology creators, maybe from your teachers, your educators, to support you so that you feel safe, but that you can really use the technology in a safe and valuable way. Do you want to come with me? Yes, as you want to, you can come with me. Any volunteers? Or shall we go one by one? You know you young people. What do you need from... Yeah? Will you do that? What do you need from us adults? What do we need from the adults? Many people I know would say nothing. However, this is not true, because we get so much from the adults that we should sometimes be happy. Please don't tell my parents what I said. Don't tell them that I said that. However, regarding AI, since this was the main subject of everything that has been said so far, well, I would expect from the AI creators, or maybe more AI trainers, first of all, that they put in less monetization. That is because that when someone wants to use the AI for research, one has to pay. For me, it's a ton of money. Then I prefer to use Google for 0 zloty, the same phrase. And it is possible that ChatGPT is going to make a mistake, and I will find the correct answers, because ChatGPT is wrong. Makes mistakes very often. If I use any AI models, and I do it very rarely, then about 9 in 10 answers, ChatGPT is at least a little bit wrong, and I'm not very patient. So let's say that if AI takes over the power at any point, will not treat me very gently. And in all of this, do you remember that you are speaking to a machine? Yes. And I'm very cautious. So in a crisis situation, I would never turn to AI. I always bear in mind that it's a machine. So not only does it make mistakes, but it is not a human being. I'm not very social. So I don't like speaking with people about difficult things. So even more, I wouldn't talk about AI. I would prefer to read a book. Nad Niemnem, for example. So 19th century literature. Okay. Thank you very much. You can also make a statement regarding AI and artists. And this was something that you said with anger before the conference today. I would like to say that I don't like when AI replaces arts, when it's about images, videos, music. For me, that's a disgrace. And I see that these days children are better at what is happening and see better what's happening than the adults. So recently I went to a climbing place, and I could see how is an adult is showing a video to a child. I didn't see what the video was, but the adult said, well, how funny. And the 10-year-old said, "Dad, this is AI." And I can constantly see how the adults, how adult person do not recognize that something is AI created, images, videos. So I am afraid that in a couple of years' time, we'll come to a point when no one is going to be able to distinguish what is AI generated and what is human generated. That the AI can be used for research, however, just for that. Thank you, Gabriel. Can I take the microphone away from you? I would like to add that it makes sense to teach children and young people that AI should not be an authority. It shouldn't be something to look at. It's a machine. And who is someone to look up to? I believe adults, teachers, parents. Thank you. I also believe that it would be good if AI could help a teenager with a panic attack to help with breathing exercises and other things that can help you relax. And then if there are any suicidal thoughts or plans, that the AI would be able to do something that help would be sent to that person to prevent it from happening. And not even saying, go to a psychologist because I'm artificial intelligence, that is, artificial intelligence would call a person. Yes, if there is danger to human life or health. Yes, thank you. Do you want to? You can sit down, you can get up. I surely would need the following, because the adults often criticize AI, that we use it a lot, that we support ourselves with it. Not everybody believes that it's something good. They believe that it takes creativity away from us, but that's not the only thing, because AI can explain something, can help us as well. And when it comes to the psychological age, well, consulting AI may not be the best idea. We have to bear in mind that it is artificial intelligence, whereas another person can help us understand our problems. But it is artificial. And so it behaves with empathy. However, it is not real. So in itself, it is artificial. And so do you believe that you can bear that in mind when you speak with artificial intelligence? You can't always remember that because it behaves in a very human way. So it comes to the point when it is so well developed that, for example, when you speak with ChatGPT, that the voice has changed so much that it sounds very humane. But in your opinion, it is worth remembering that it is a machine. Yes, that it is not able to really help you. I would like to mention practically what Basia said. I would need support from our parents, from people who take care of us, that we would need support also, so that the parents would explain, tell us, suggest something, because sometimes artificial intelligence makes enormous mistakes. And when AI stops making mistakes, when we get to ChatGPT 12.0, when it makes no more mistakes, will you need parents, relatives, or will AI be enough? I would remember that it is a robot, and I would prepare to turn to my parents, remembering that I have more life than this robot. Thank you, Jan. I wanted to mention that adults should talk about how dangerous AI can be in a couples of a time, in 15 years' time, because it can really mix things up in the heads of young people. I don't know if there is anything against, AI rebelling against the human race, and it worries me. And about Crash Royale results during the conference, were they good? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Tadeusz. My name is Tomek. Good afternoon. That's the first thing. I would like to say that in today's world, the world of artificial intelligence, I would like to ask all the parents to deal with our problems in a different way, not to take sides. Because I get the impression, and I may be wrong, but I get the impression that young people, when they are in difficult moments, when they can't manage by themselves, they choose artificial intelligence because it doesn't have a worldview, it doesn't have this life experience, so it's not going to exclude us, it is not going to invalidate us because it doesn't have an opinion. It's just a robot. It's going to give us facts, or it will try to be emphatic, but it's not going to exclude us. It is not going to judge us based on what it has experienced, because it's not experienced anything. So physically, apart from being a processor, it physically doesn't exist and it has not experienced anything. So I would like to ask all the parents not to be biased, not to take sides, not to, inverted commas, help young people based on the life 40 years ago, because that's a different reality. And I wanted to refer to the question by Tomasz asked to you, like my colleague. I am of the opinion that despite the fact that the AI can really make appearances and pretend that it's what it's not, and it's doing a good job, but in 10 years' time, only a couple of decades, maybe not in our lifetime, even if it gives the feeling of security and safety, nothing ever, never ever is going to replace a parent. It's a physical person. So not only is that person connected with us somehow, it is in our human nature, and nothing is going to replace it. And it will be just a mirage. So despite all of the appearances, the AI will never replace a human being. I would like to ask which philosopher said as the first one that a human being is a social person? Aristotle? Yes, that was during the very first lesson we had. Thank you. And that's the social sciences. Well done. So it is about doing maths, for example. When you send photos, so I used to have an issue and I couldn't solve those tasks, and now I can come with my homework done. So this is how I became the host here. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for your assistance here. I think that this was a great conclusion and ending for today. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the panelists for participating in this panel. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have no more time, but it's not the end of the conference. There is going to be a film just now. I don't know if you know about it, but it was on our agenda. But just now, I'm going to ask my colleague Agnieszka Maślanka from the Empowering Children Foundation, please stay, because Spotted, that film is going to be shown. We are going to screen that film, and it's really interesting. And we are going to watch the film